I'm open up to the week 2 tab of our class in Plato, and this is the first week that we're going to actually dive into content. So all of last week, week 1, was really getting you acquainted with the course and getting you acquainted with Plato for those of you who are new to it. So I hope that all of your questions have been answered. A couple of you have emailed me. If anything is not working for you, or you're having trouble finding something, or you have questions about the syllabus, please do reach out to me sooner rather than later. I want to make sure I can answer any questions that you have and clear up any confusion that there might be. So this is the week to really dive in and get started. We'll be starting into chapter 1 in the Cicerellian White textbook. That's your main textbook for the class. And chapter 1 is all about the science of psychology. So it's giving you a little introduction into psychology. How did the field start? And then talking about how do we conduct studies in psychology, i.e., how do we do research, and what does that look like? So I've given you a to-do list just like last week. You're listening to the podcast overview right now, so this is where you are, you're here. If you haven't already posted your bio in the student lounge, that's in the communications tab over on the left of your Plato screen. You're going to want to do that. This is due by the 8th, so that's Wednesday, and that's the last day of ad drop. So this is really going to confirm your enrollment in the class once you do that. So I'm going to be on the lookout for those, and I'll be responding to everyone's bios this week. Once you've done that, you're going to read over the objectives for chapter 1. I'm just going to skip to those really quick. They're right here. You can listen to the podcast where I go over each of these objectives. So this is like my little podcast for you, kind of like a little mini intro into what the chapter is going to talk about. And so I cover like all the key areas. So it's really helpful to listen to that. And then you can use all of this here, these objectives, as a study guide before you take your first exam. You can kind of go through and you should be able to answer all of these questions. Once you've done all the readings and watched the videos, you should have a good sense of this chapter. Now, how I've set up the chapters in terms of, the week by week content that you're getting is I will always rely on you doing the reading. Okay, so I love the textbook that I chose for the class because it's super easy to understand, very straightforward, and comes with really great resources. So you're going to be utilizing that throughout the entire semester. So when you go to a chapter to dive in your textbook, you can, if you have the e-text, you can have it read it to you, which is awesome if you're an auditory learner. It will read you the text. You can pause it, you can stop it, and embedded within the readings are the videos that go along with the chapter. Now, I've posted some extra videos in Plato that you're going to watch, but the textbook also has its own little carve-out videos that go with things. And this is great because these help illustrate concepts for you that help make it all make sense. I've posted the first chapter here of the Cicerelli and White textbook, and I've also posted the first chapter and preface of the Hawk book. I'm sorry, just the preface, which is what you'll be using this week. So here's both of the readings for this week. If you don't yet have your textbooks, you can get started. No need to delay. You can dive right in. So these are what you're reading this week, okay? And then the discussion post for the week, which I'll get to in a minute, deals with the Hawk preface. It's really ethics and psychology is what that preface is all about. How do we do research in psychology and kind of what are the ethical guidelines behind that research. And I want you to know that before you start diving in and reading about the studies. We're going to, every study in the Hawk book, it's 40 studies in psychology. Every study was a really important one, which really made its niche in the field of psychology. And in order to understand those, you got to first have a baseline understanding of how we can conduct research in the field. So that's why I have you reading the preface, and you're going to be doing a discussion board posting about that this week. So you're going to want to overview these objectives and then dive into the readings. And then here are my lecture slides, okay? And so these just go along really nicely with the book. The slides are put out by the publisher of your book. And then I've kind of gone through them and enhanced them a little bit to give you extra. If you click into this, it's going to bring you into PowerPoint. And that will allow you to look at the slides in presenter mode, which is the best way to view them because then they're interactive. The slides actually do different things. They take you different places. You can click on things and it's all very helpful. So that would probably be the best way to view them. Of course, you don't have to do it that way. You can view them in outline format or note format or however best suits you. Okay, once you've done all that, I've posted a couple videos for you to watch. You're going to be seeing a lot of these crash course in psychology. These are great. They're short, they're fun, they're relevant, interesting, little snippets into all the different little areas of psychology. So I really like these. There's an intro one here that you're going to watch, and then there's one on research and experimentation. So you want to go ahead and watch those. You're going to hear a lot of things echoed from the reading. So it's really meant to highlight and bring out what you're reading in a practical way. Then I've posted instructions on how to do a discussion board posting. This rubric is your guideline to what should you be including in your posts. When you respond to the questions here in the discussion board post, you want to be citing sources. You want to use examples from the readings to back up what you're saying. These should be, fairly developed responses, not a couple sentences. I mean, this is a written example of your work. So put your effort into these responses. Okay, I cannot highlight that enough. When I ask you about the ethical guidelines, you're going to want to give me examples, reasons why not, cite the textbook so I know where you're pulling your information from. If you get something from a video, cite it. If you get something from the Hawk book, cite it. Okay, so you get the point. And here's instructions as to how to cite. You can't just do it any old way. You don't do it probably like you did it in high school, and you don't do it probably like you do it for English. Those use different kinds of citations. In psychology, we use the American Psychological Association, the APA, guide to citing. And a lot of the social sciences use APA. So you're going to want to get familiar with that. If you're a freshman or it's one of your first psych classes, you're going to want to get used to that style of citing because you're going to be using it throughout your entire career in academics. So it's all there for you, okay? Once you feel ready, you've watched the videos, you've done the readings, you've looked over the lecture slides, then you're going to be ready to go ahead and do your discussion post, okay? Once you've posted your original post, which is due on the 10th, that's Friday, you're going to want to do that first, and then you're going to wait. And then over the weekend, you're going to respond to 3 other people's posts. So you're going to go in and see what 3 other people wrote in response to this question, and you're going to follow up. You're going to ask them some questions. Is there anything they missed? What could they have added? Do you have extra examples? How can you really draw out what they said? How can you add to it? Okay, and here again, you want to cite. So citing is key. You should not be doing your original post and your responses to others all in one sitting, all in one day. This is meant to be drawn out over a few days. Number one, so everyone gets a chance to answer this question before others start replying back. And number two, so that it gives time to digest and time for you to see what everyone's written, and then you dive into responding. Okay, so that's the order. That's how I'd like to see it happen. And then that way, I think we'll have some really productive discussion. Once you've finished that, you're then ready to take your first quiz. It's a very quick quiz. It's just meant to kind of check in with you and see how you're doing. It's 10 points, 10 questions, multiple choice. So it's nothing crazy, but it should be a little challenging because it's only 10 questions over an entire chapter. So obviously I can't quiz you on everything. So I'm going to pick out some things that I think are important, and I'm going to put those in there into the quiz. So you're not supposed to use notes or book. If you're trying to do that, you're going to run out of time, and these quizzes and the tests eventually are going to be hard for you to finish in the allotted time, okay? And that I do that for a reason. So, make sure you're ready. You have plenty of time. This isn't due until Sunday. I'm sorry, Friday. Friday is the due date for the quiz. So give yourself enough time to do that. Okay, let's just go back up here real quick. There's one other thing that I want to make sure everyone completes, and that is the mandatory intro psych assessment. This is an assessment that every single intro psych student takes, whether you're a major or not. This is just something that our department does to kind of gauge where students are at as a baseline in their understanding of psychology. So it's important that, you just do your best. You're probably not going to know a lot of the questions on the test. That's okay, and that's kind of on purpose. You shouldn't know. If you've never taken psychology, you probably won't know a lot. Or you may have had some psych in high school, and maybe you do know some. All of that is all okay. So we're just gauging where you're at. Your how you do on the test is not going to affect your grade at all. That's not the point. However, if you do not complete this, it will affect your grade. Failure to do this by the 17th of September will result in a 10-point grade deduction. So you don't want that to happen. So take this week, click into this link, and go ahead and take that test, take that assessment. When you're finished with the assessment, it will give you like a completion notice, and it will say you're all good. If something goes wrong or you're confused about it, you can always email Dr. Camilleri. His email is here. He is the one who administers the test and sets it up. So if there's any technical issues or you're having trouble opening it, you want to direct your questions to him, because I can't help you with that. He has access to it and is able to take a look and see if there's any problems, what might be going on. So make sure that you do that. Okay? So everything I just went over, it's all here in your to-do list. So, best to kind of go in the order I've put here, I think makes the most sense. But as you're working through this, it is, the first real week of content. Please let me know if you need to talk with me, if you'd like to Zoom during office hours, ask any questions, if you need concepts explained. That's what Zoom is great for, with that one-on-one time where you can ask questions. I mean, that's something you don't really get in an in-person class, is that one-on-one time. So utilize it if you need it. Okay? And some students do and some students don't. Some are great to just kind of go on their own and utilize the resources here and work their way through the class. Others need a little more explanation. So I'm here if you need it. and I look forward to the week with you guys.